Manchester City take the spoils in the Manchester derby, winning by 3-0 against United at the Etihad. Mark Donaldson alongside Stevie Nicol to reflect on what we have just seen. So a 3-goal margin of victory for City. Stevie, was that a fair reflection on what you saw?
100%. I mean, second half was just a cakewalk for Man City. I don't know what happened to United in this, particularly the second half. You know, United started the game really well. It kind of had a derby feel to it. Both teams were giving the ball away just because the other were putting pressure on. But after half time, I mean, this was I don't know, somebody let the air out of Manchester United in the second half. That other than, I would say, Bomo and Ahmad, everybody else looked as though they were just going through the motions. I mean, it just fell flat. City pounced on United mistakes. Haaland took his goals well. Probably should have had more than two. Should have had his hat trick. Reinders should have scored as well. Yes, and Bomo had one chance, and Donnarumma made a great save. But that's it for United. I mean, that was it. So we haven't learned anything from this game. We know that City can be good and certainly can be better. And we knew United were bang average. So we know. We just confirmed that all the things that we thought they were, completely and utterly bang average. And Man City actually didn't need to be close to their best to beat United 3-0. And so not only the result was great for City, great for Haaland getting a couple of goals, but obviously Phil Foden, who particularly in the first half was exceptional. A good day overall for City, and just another Sunday for Man United.
I'm glad you mentioned the difference in them in the second half. I thought they were tighter in their formation. Yeah, they went a goal down, but they still looked like they could be a threat on the counter-attack, but they didn't concede as many chances in the first half. In the second half, what happened to their shape, Manchester United? Because it's as if they decided, right, we need to try and get back into this game, but all sorts of kind of issues arose when it came to keeping the shape that had been okay in the first half. They looked so open.
Well, when they go behind and they have to open up and try and play, then that's when it all falls apart. You know, when it's tight and they're giving nothing away and they're looking to just go on the counter, then they have some sort of shape. But as soon as they go behind and then they start, you know, they have to take a step forward and try and play because they're behind, that's when everything falls apart. You know, they don't cover each other well. They don't make good decisions. I mean, defensively, some of the decisions they made, you know, Harry Maguire come on and had an absolute shocker as well for Haaland's second. So yeah, I mean, the problem is if they go out with a game plan of staying tight and trying to counter, when they're all doing it, it kind of looks as though there's some thought in it. But as soon as they have to open up and play, then the holes appear and they have no idea how to fill them.
Let's go back to the start before a ball is even kicked, and let's talk about the goalkeeping situation. Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola decided to give the nod to Gigi Donnarumma, who made his debut. There was to be no debut for Manchester United's new keeper. That was confirmed on Friday when Ruben Amorim said that Bayindir will start in goal. Was that the right decision for both? And what did you make of the respective performances of both Donnarumma and Bayindir today?
Yeah, I think they both made the right decision. You know, Donnarumma has got is vastly experienced, and putting him in to a Manchester derby against a Manchester United side that are struggling, on the face of it, doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too much of a problem for somebody as good as Donnarumma and certainly as experienced. On the other hand, again, yes, I think Amorim made the right decision not starting the young keeper Lamens and did the right thing playing Bayindir. Now the fact is that Bayindir isn't up to the standard of a top Premier League goalkeeper, and actually before even a goal was scored, he showed how nervous he was with a poor touch that almost let Haaland close him down. after about 5 minutes. Now, if there's one thing as a defender you don't want to look and watch, is your goalkeeper looking nervous and making a mistake after 5 minutes when you're already under pressure anyway. So I think both decisions were the correct ones. Donnarumma made a fantastic save from Bomo. Again, no surprise. We know he's capable of that, and he produced it. And Bayandi in goal is an okay goalkeeper, and lost 3 goals today.
Phil Foden snapped a Premier League goal-scoring drought. However, he's certainly someone that knows where the back of the net is against Manchester United. He got the opening goal after 19. It was like a second bite of the cherry for Jeremy Doku, who managed to get the ball in. And it's a great run. I think one thing from City this season, from their supporters' perspective, and for Pep Guardiola's perspective as well, if Phil Foden can get a run of games in the team when he doesn't get hurt or doesn't get injured and he can find the form, not only does it benefit Manchester City, it would benefit England as well ahead of the World Cup next year. Doku's done really well. That's a good header from Foden to give City the lead, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. Heading's not, I wouldn't have thought as the top of the tree in terms of his ability, but he took it really well. And yeah, when he plays inside and that off the front row, when he just finds little gaps, and then he's so good on the turn. You know, he does everything so silky smooth. It's effortless from him facing his own goal to facing the opposition goal, and then of course from there he's got a choice. Does he go on his own or does he pick out a pass? And so you have to keep giving him the ball when he's in that sort of form. I mean, if I was to be critical of Foden at all, it would be that he didn't get involved enough for me in the second half. Now, whether that's down to his teammates not getting him the ball, I'll probably go with that. But yeah, disappointed that he didn't produce in the second half what he did in the first. But certainly what he did do in the first was the difference between the two sides.
7th career goal against Manchester United for Phil Foden, snapping an 11-game streak without a Premier League goal. So it was 1-0 at the half. Before we speak about this very open second half, you spoke about maybe wanting to see a little bit more from Foden in that first half. What about Šeško for Manchester United? What did you see from him in the opening 45 minutes, and did his teammates give him enough service?
Not a lot, and no. I mean, there was one ball where he got in behind. I think he actually was onside. I think the linesman gave him offside, and he made Donnarumma make a save. But other than that, I mean, listen, I don't care who's your number 9 or who's up front on their own. If you don't get him the ball, then it's just unfair to talk about what sort of performance that he gave. I mean, he never got a chance. Never really got an opportunity to show what he's all about. And certainly since he's gone to United, today was his first actual start from the beginning. But up until now, we haven't been able to assess him whatsoever because he hasn't had any service. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. You know, we saw Haaland last year being alone up front, not getting any service, took lots of criticism, never looked like he'd score. And quite honestly, for Šeško, it could be the same sort of season for him as Haaland had last year because the service isn't there. As I said, I don't care how good you are. You can't go alone. Certainly not against the best defenders and the best teams.
53rd minute, and Erling Haaland matches Phil Foden with 7 goals in a Manchester derby. It was at this stage, or just before that, where United had kind of thought, well, we'll have a goal, but they forgot to kind of be rigid, and their high line was allowing City so much space and time to play a ball over the top. It's just great strength, and when you've just scored 5 goals in midweek for your country, Norway, in a World Cup qualifier, he's back to the Erling Haaland that we know from a couple of years ago. Even though last year was a down year by his standards, he still scored 20-plus goals. But you cannot defend against him like that. And at that stage, you're kind of worried for United that might be the case that the floodgates would open.
Well, and actually the floodgates did. Unfortunately for City, they didn't take the opportunities. Haaland had another one that he actually ended up hitting the post. He should have scored. And I've already mentioned Johnny Reinders going through on his own, dinking it over by India, but put it wide of the post. I mean, so it really did open up. City just didn't take advantage of the situations that they were presented with. So yeah, I mean, it's really tough to come up with something else to say about United, quite frankly, because this type of performance is something that we've seen time and time and time again. And the biggest problem of all is Amorim will not change the way they play. You know, how many times can you get it wrong? How many times can you put a team on the field that either can't do what you want them to do? And certainly, if you've put a team on the field on countless occasions and they can't do what you want them to do, eventually you've got to change it. Just because you have to figure out that what you're asking them to do, they can't do it. And surely Amorim, by now, has realised, particularly after today, that the way they're set up doesn't work for the players they have. Now, that leads to the question, regardless of what way you do set up, do United have the players that actually can compete at the top end of the Premier League? And right now, if I was asked that question, I would have to say no.
So the signings that they made, your Mbeumo's and your Cunha's, and also Šeško as well, yes, they've strengthened that part of the field, middle to front. But if he's going to continue with this 3-4-3, you're bringing Harry Maguire on. I mean, what is this? Is this like 2015? Nothing against Harry Maguire, but this can't be Manchester United in 2025-26 season thinking we'll be better than we were last season. You're still bringing on Harry Maguire, and defensively you're all over the place because you're trying to chase a game without keeping the door shut at the other end.
Yeah, and again, it's something that Amorim's done last season, and he's continuing to do it this season. You know, it just seems madness that you continue to play or try and play the way you want to play with this group, and then defeat after defeat. Every now and again, you get a chink of light where you might win a game, but generally it's defeat after defeat. And I honestly don't know where Manchester United go from here, because if they're going to keep Amorim, then the only thing you can probably guarantee is that this team's going to perform the way it did today for the rest of the season and end up in the bottom half of the table. It just depends how far down they go, because it's just a complete and utter mess. It's not a football team, you know, particularly in a derby. You know, when things are going against you and you're up against it, you have to get together and you have to encourage each other. You know, you have to make it difficult for the opposition. You know, all the things that a team does as a unit. Manchester United don't do any of that, and they haven't done that for a long, long time. And as I said, it doesn't look like it's changing anytime soon.
This is Manchester United's worst start to a Premier League season, tied worst since 92-93. 1 win, 1 draw, and 2 defeats. 4 points from a possible 12. Now, they went on to win the title that year. That's unlikely to happen this year. Are the players at Manchester United less than the sum of their parts?
You know, that's... Let me put it this way, and I'll try and say it in the nicest possible way. This squad of players, I don't care who the coach is. I don't care which way he wants to put the parts in. Right now, this team is not capable of being anything else other than less the sum of its parts, because it is absolutely all over the shop, and right now just looks a complete mess. And nobody looks as though they have any confidence whatsoever. Yes, Bruno Fernandes tries to get on the ball all he can, but in general, there are far too many of the players with a red jersey on right now in this squad who are not up to the task.
That's damning. So it's more on the players than the coach?
Oh no, this is 50-50, 100%. 50-50, no question. The coach, for some reason, is too stubborn to change it, and the players, for some reason, can't follow instruction because there doesn't seem to be any sort of pattern to what they do. And actually, the bottom line is, I think too many of them are just not good enough to play for a team that has aspirations of being at the top of the Premier League. So, yeah, whether it's the players, whether it's the manager, right now, they're not good enough.
Is the Manchester United jersey and that badge on the jersey, does the jersey weigh too heavily on some players?
Well, no, because I think we've seen enough, and they've lost enough to show that it's not the weight of the jersey. They're just not good enough. It's just as straightforward as that. We can come up with all kinds of excuses or reasons. Who's at fault, or why is this not working, or why is that not working, or why is he playing? Is the coach picking the right team? Is the coach picking the right shape, the right formation? We have seen enough of what United have in that building to know that the players and the manager are not good enough.
How do you fix it, Stevie?
You can only change both. You have to bring in a manager who, at the very least, will make the team hard to beat. And in terms of the players, you have to change the playing squad. You know, the mentality and the culture at United right now is not changeable with what's there. It has to be fresh faces, fresh ideas, bringing players in with a gut-busting attitude of, I don't care whether we're actually ability-wise good enough, but you know what? Nobody's going to outrun us. Nobody's going to outfight us. Nobody's going to have more desire than we have. We're going to show more heart and fight and guts than anybody we play against. Whether we don't have the ability or not, that's where you start. That's where United have to start. With not the finer, fancy things about playing football, but the desire, the guts, and the courage to just go and do that. So, yeah, every which way you look at United, they lack all of those things.
You speak about guts and you speak about courage. When you, probably the start of the kind of late 80s, early 90s more so, played against Manchester United, they had a spine to their team, whether it was Mark Hughes leading the line, and then all the way through, you've got Bruce and Pallister and whatever. Where's that spine now? Are they soft?
Well, they don't have a spine. Somebody's taken it out and not replaced it. I mean, it's just that simple. Teams just walk through the spine of Manchester United now. You know, we're talking today of 3-0. It could have been 5 or 6. And that's because anybody who plays against United knows that they can get at them right through the pipe. And there's nothing and nobody in that United team, squad, set up that is capable of changing that. So, yeah, they don't have the spine.
We have to end with Manchester City. It's their day. It's a 10th derby win for Pep Guardiola. The third goal, it was a simple ball over the top, and Erling Haaland doing what Erling Haaland does. He missed an absolute sitter and then scores a difficult one, or that was far more difficult than the one he missed. But as you said earlier, he could easily have had a hat-trick. The first half, and even at half-time, when the analysts on TV were talking about City maybe not quite near where they were when Pep's side were just beating everything before them, are we starting to see that there are different ways for them to win, whether it's being a bit more direct? What do you make of City overall right now when they're at their best compared to where they have been over the past few years?
Well, I can't actually answer that because they weren't at their best today. They were way short of their best, you know. I mean, the fact that they won the midfield battle tells you how poor United are, because I've never seen Rodri giving so many balls away. You know, Reinders had a poor start to the game. You know, Phil Foden was the one in the middle of the park that was leading the charge. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think this is probably the game to judge Manchester City where they are. They've got a lot of injuries. I think at full strength, there's a different team on the field. But right now, with what they've got, you can't tell. You can't tell. They're way off where they used to be. You know, I've never seen that again. Not just Rodri, but they gave the ball away way too often. Something that they never used to do at all. I mean, Pep's idea of football is about keeping the ball, and if you have the ball, the opposition can't hurt you. And they didn't do a particularly great job of that today. But again, it shows you that they have quality and they have ability. But I think we saw today that they're certainly quite a way off where they want to be. But at the end of the day, it's about results, and they got the right result in the right game in a big derby, and Haaland gets his goals.
Yeah, the big games continue for both sides. City face Arsenal next weekend. Manchester United face Chelsea. One final question to you, and it's on the Champions League game in midweek. Napoli, champions of Italy, coming to the Etihad. Scott McTominay and others coming back, including Kevin De Bruyne. Does that whet your appetite for a match day one in this season's Champions League?
Well, I think it whets the appetite because we're not quite sure what we're going to get. You know, Conte in Europe has not been successful up to this point in his career, and we've just talked about how City, not only have they got a lot of injury problems, but they're not quite the force they were. So this is a tough one to call. It really is. You know, Napoli flying again in Serie A, and City with a good win today, but still trying to find their way back to where they were. This is a tough one to call, and so because of that, I think it's really interesting.
Indeed it is. We'll have full coverage and preview that game on ESPN FC during the week. But Manchester belongs to the Blues again after a goalless draw last season and then a late smash and grab from United at the Etihad. It's City who are once again smiling, and United are just a point off the drop zone.